Welcome, everyone. I'm Rick with the Legacy Brew Pub, and we have an interesting set of circumstances today. A local player ended up winning one of the biggest tournaments in the Midwest of the year with quite a spicy brew, Black, Green, Blue Infect. I haven't seen much media coming out of the tournament, so I wanted to fix that. And today, I wanted to give an extensive interview with the winner, Jacob Segal, the Infect Master, to see what he has to say. First off, shoutouts to NRG, Nerd Rage Gaming, for hosting the series here in the Midwest. They're doing some heavy lifting keeping these Midwest Magic communities engaged. They did an excellent job of organizing, hosting, and running the tournaments. They had 2 Magic artists in attendance, the table spacing was excellent, and there was never an issue with rounds going long or standing around just waiting. All right, so yeah, let's just jam some fucking some interview questions. Let's get to know Jacob, the winner of the largest tournament in the Midwest of the year with Black, Green, Blue Infect.
I've been playing this deck Infect for a long time. Been about 5 years, been grinding this deck. I mean, I have a lot of experience with it, just, a lot of different matchups. Magic kind of always feels like almost similar in the terms of like the card quality if you've been playing for so long, and like you see all the most powerful cards coming out. And Modern is just like a really high potency format of like powerful cards that I've seen before. And the way you play Infect is by kind of anticipating your opponent's next moves. And I mean, the deck is a bunch of random pump spells, and pump spells aren't necessarily good Magic cards because they require you to have other creatures in play for them to be good. And nobody's trying to like keep creatures in play these days. They're trying to like outvalue you with card advantage or cheat something into play really quickly. We're trying to interact really hard, and if we don't interact, they're gonna like our deck can grind with people if we don't have our turn 2 lethal, which is kind of cool because like any deck that has a turn 2 win but can also grind and like play a long serious game with your opponent but still feel like a slam dunk when you do win, like that's crazy.
Yeah, if I were to like pick up Infect and start playing here in Modern right now, I wouldn't necessarily think of it as a kind of a grindy deck. I would just say it's like maybe not all in, but what am I trying to say?
Well, I mean, like I like spend my turns like thinking like, is this the turn to do this? Is this the turn to go for it, or is this the turn I want to like bluff protection? Or like you have to kind of like ask yourself questions within the game, like how am I going to win this game? Like what they're doing to me, how am I going to be able to beat that? And so one of those things that you ask yourself is just like hold up the mana, see how they respond, and then that's just kind of like the answer sometimes. But like obviously the deck kind of feels like high poker player-ish, where you're always kind of bluffing it, but you're always kind of like, do I have it? Do they not have it? You don't really know. And that's the thing with Infect that's really scary, is that like you don't know what's going to come off the top of their deck until it's too late,
Yeah. That's super interesting. I like how you describe it as pokery. And it must be like a better deck in paper kind of thing.
Oh, it definitely feels better in paper because like you sit there with the demeanor of just like, you don't show fear. Like I've seen some other Infect players before like start to get a little bit nervous if they don't have another creature in play, or if they, don't have a protection spell. They can show that like they kind of don't have it. I don't know. Just got to be confident in your plays and like hold up a decent amount of cards in your hand and make your opponent think. Make them think. Do the little mental game with your opponent. That's how you're gonna win.
Yeah.
Sometimes like if you're just, I mean, that's my secret to playing the deck. I think is I just like try to mind game people, and if it works, it works, and if it doesn't, then oh well, the game's over, and then like I try again with the next guy. Everybody's different.
Yeah, it's like faking it until you make it, and then you actually make it. What's up?
Literally exactly what it is. Literally what it is. 100%. Faking it until you make it, and then you accidentally made it. You're like, wow, I did it.
Yeah. So do you have any like big wins going into this Milwaukee tournament?
Yeah, so there was some pretty good results that I've been picking up lately. I mean, I was at the Invitational in Roanoke and didn't do well in the main event, but there was a like the big Sunday like Modern like championship qualifier thing again, and I top aided that with Black Green Infect because Crusader was very good then. And then before that, there was like a big 5K in the city here in Minneapolis, and I top 4'd that as well. And that was a nice big like high entry tournament. Random events this year that they're just like 20-30 man events that I top aided. I gained like last weekend before this tournament. I played 2 store championships, one at Lodestone Coffee and Games, and the other one at Steamship Games. One was like 40 players, the other one was about 20, and I top 8'd both of those.
I remember you posting some screenshots of arena wins too.
Yeah, so I also got like I won one of the arena opens like last fall. I think I got like $2,000 once from doing the arena opens. I've qualified for like the Mythic Invitational qualifier events. Like not so often lately. I haven't been playing as much arena since paper has started to become like kind of back. But I've noticed that like all these events that I keep playing in paper keep qualifying me for these arena events, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that's a really impressive list, man.
Right, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a lot of hard work.
Yeah, usually it's just me just playing the same deck over and over and over again, and I just understand what I'm doing, and like I know kind of the patterns of like what decks I'll lose against, and I'll know the patterns of like how I win against certain decks, like what needs to happen, like what needs to go right in my favor. Like my mulligan decisions are like how does this usually end, like with the experience in my own like mind. And so losing with Infect takes a lot of experience too, because like, you know, or gets you a lot of experience, because when you lose, you got to think, what could I have done to win? Like you have to kind of think about that for a second, take a deep thought, and like, could I have played this at a different time? Could I have used this a little bit differently? Could I have done this at a different phase? There's just so many questions that you have to ask yourself when you're playing a game with the deck Infect, because your sources are like very limited. And when you're running low on resources, it's kind of hard to catch up. Yeah. You only have draw power. And that's kind of what I love about the Infect is like either you're dead or you're not. So it's like, you know, cutting the bullshit and cutting straight to the chase.
Yep.
And if you want to grind and you want to feel good about a good win because you grinded and like, you know, you played something a little bit odd or something a little different that no one really expected, then you will definitely squeeze out some wins by just like confusing your opponent.
I imagine there was a lot of confusing your opponent over the weekend, man. Because what was your record for that tournament then?
So after Swiss and after the top 8, my ending record was 9-0-2.
Nice.
Really didn't drop a match. I dropped a few games here and there. They were close.
That's what we call a fucking flawless victory right there. Yeah, one thing I actually liked about watching the stream, nobody really seemed to be giving you a chance. They were all just like, oh, this is the round Infect is out, and now, you know, this deck is going forward. And then, you know, literally the next turn you untap, here's a 10-10 Infect unblockable. What do you got? And then you were through. It was like, they didn't even see it coming. It was a Mack truck for everybody who was even watching.
Nobody saw that coming. I didn't see that coming. I think there's literally like some special force on my side.
So I just wanted to get your thoughts on the modern meta currently and what it looks like to you as a modern player. I'm not really a modern player. I'm a legacy player. Looking from the outside in, format looks pretty healthy. I don't think you're being dominated by any one deck or anything, but I'm not quite sure. So what do you see it as?
So I've been noticing, I mean, at that tournament, I did play a very large variety of decks. I am noticing the meta like constantly kind of shifting. I do think Hammer Time is still like one of the forefront decks of the format. It's very powerful, very explosive. If they're not interacting, you're beating them, or they're beating you. I mean, if you're not interacting with them. So that's what I love about Hammer Time. But then like we got like these like Jund Sagavan and also like, you know, Grixis Luris or Grixis Death Shadow. And these two decks, I think, is like good against blue-green Infect. So this is a great card.
I used to play Infect in Legacy, and I see now that there are 4 nobles and 4 ignoble hierarchs or whatever. Why is the deck running 8 hierarchs?
Well, because we're Sultai, we need, you know, a lot of good mana fixing. We also have like the 8 2-drop, or we have the 4 Crusaders, and we would like to play a card on turn 2 as fast as we can. And also, out of the sideboard, we have a literal like playset of Endurance in the sideboard. And that's also a 3-drop. Getting any kind of 3-mana 3/4 into play, or any kind of 3-mana 2/2 like Double Striker, I mean, with what our deck's trying to do and play it sooner, we can be faster and win. And also, Exalted. Exalted is huge. In this deck, 2 Exalted triggers and like a scale up and a mutagenic growth is lethal. So so that's just like with 8 nobles, having 2 of those in play is so easy. 1 mutagenic, 1 scale up out of 4 copies of each in your deck. Like you're just trying to put pieces of a puzzle together with this deck. Don't blow all your pieces in one sitting. You wait until you have all your pieces in your hand, and then wait for your opponent to like make a slip up or like tap out, or wait for them to do something like not very smart, I think. And then you go for it. And if they are playing very smart, there are some games where you just have to go for it. Like you're forced to try to win. It just, if it works out, it feels really good. And it does work out quite a lot if you just kind of go for lethal. You just have to get a feel for how many cards they have in hand and what the clock on you on the way back is. So lots of things to think about.
That's actually super interesting. Like in the legacy form, you don't really cast many spells. Actually, you're only casting your ponders, your brainstorms, and your berserk. But in modern, it makes sense when you actually say it. Like you need more mana to cast your spells. Like it's just something I really hadn't put together. And like, yeah, I guess 8 nobles are way better than 4. Yeah, that's just math.
Exactly. It's something like if we were playing like black green or blue green, I don't think we would be playing 8. I think we'd be playing 4.
Yeah.
Like it's because we're on Sultai, we need to have the full 8. We
Okay.
need as many 1-drops as we can for this deck.
Yeah, there's a lot more. Even when Fatal Push was printed, I remember that was just so crushing for Infect. But now you have, in modern, you also have Prismatic Ending, Path to Exile, Unholy Heat, just all these new cards that are getting printed that are also just 1-drop removals. And it makes sense that you need to have a lot of mana to protect, not only on your turn, but their turn too.
And also Crusader just has built-in protection against all those cards, which is kind of nice.
Mm-hmm.
And Crusader definitely has put in work. Like it's cool that like even scale up, like that's been out for such a long time. It's just so cool how like it has unblockable against red and white. There's a lot of white decks out there, a lot of red decks out there. When I play against Burn with Infect, I'm just looking for Crusader.
Nice. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, and that's something that I've never had before against Burn. Like playing blue-green, you're like, oh, they kill my guy, I'm just going to lose. I'm not going to have another guy. This guy, they literally can't kill, and they might just lose the turn after I play it.
Fun fact, in your semifinals and your finals, you didn't actually cast Crusader one time despite playing a white and a black and red deck.
Yep, and I think there was one time in the finals where like I had the chance to play the Crusader, and I opted not to.
Let's go over your black-red Luris in the semifinals. Which going into it, I was like, this is the one matchup you just shouldn't win. I don't know how you can win this. It seems like everything he's gonna play is just gonna take you out of your game plan. During this black-red Luris matchup, your opponent Thoughtseizes and Inquisitions targeting you, whatever, and discards all your Infect creatures. I was wondering if that was correct, because to me, from the outside, it seems like maybe you should have been targeting your pump spells. You need more of those to win the game. So I'm not quite sure. Was that the right move?
So that is all very dependent on my opponent's hand, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they had removal, then obviously they didn't need to go after the agents. But I mean, the rule of thumb is always take the Infectors against Infect.
Okay.
Like they don't have a guy they can't win, but the deck is a lot more guys than ever before nowadays with the extra Crusaders in the deck. So we're at like 16 Infectors in the deck instead of 12.
Yeah.
And 4 of them have like built-in pro half the game. If I rip any one of those after you Thoughtseize me, it's like the game's on again.
Yeah, because you have 16, but then if you can't target 4 of them, you pretty much, just digging for those anyway.
Yeah, because then at that point you're going to be like when I mulligan, my mulligan decisions were like, do I have a land or 2 and a Crusader and like maybe a Noble? Or like I'm looking for like, do I have a 1-drop into a Blighted Agent?
Yeah.
Like you're looking for like pressure after pressure with no skipping beats. But if you are skipping beats and playing the slower game, you're like trying to like curve Crusader into like Inkmoth, Noble, get in, hold up protection.
Yeah, that's a good point. So in Legacy, you generally on the play you want to lead with your Glistener, and on the draw you tend to want to lead on your Noble. In Modern, it sounds like whatever you do, just have more guys out, just have more dudes.
I mean, I don't know if I know what my opponent's deck is, and I kept Glistener Elf in my deck, and I'm looking at a turn 2 in my hand with an Elf on the play or on the draw. I might still try doing it, but it really depends on how they start turn 1 and what's going on. And if Glistener Elf is in my deck, that means it's obviously good. I'm not gonna lie, Glistener Elf does get boarded out quite a bit. So we're like looking for a lot of like slower, like grindier hands anyways. A lot of the time in all these grindier like black red or Grixis matchups, I always cut like all 4 of my mutagenics, all 4 of my Glistener Elves, and go to like 4 I went into 4 endurance, 2 fatal push, and 2 veil of summers.
Dang.
Yeah,
that almost seems like such a hot take.
Yeah, that's kind of what I would do.
Fuck, I mean, I'm not a pro, but yeah, obviously you won the tournament. That's the correct thing to do.
It definitely felt right every time. I was like, my opponent's not expecting this. They're all waiting for Glistener Elves, and I'm like, Glistener Elf is the worst draw in my deck a lot of the time. Like, we're playing good, like, Endurance right now is such a good card by itself that, like, we're fine playing Sultai Endurance with protection. It's literally what we're doing, Sultai with Endurance and pump spells. Sometimes you look at an Endurance in play, and you're, like, looking at your scale up on Might of Old Corrosive and like a Become Immense. And then you're like, wow, they don't have a blocker. Like, that's a lot of damage.
Yeah.
6, 10, 16.
Yeah, that's 1 fetch shock and another fetch. You won.
And you're just like shipping him for like, let's say you have 1 noble and the endurance in play that you flash at the end of their turn. You gotta untap and like hold up vines and like blossoming defense and like play an ink moth for the turn, get in for 4. Like, you're just attacking at so many different angles at that point. You're like shooting in for real damage, and you're like still just getting in with your real damage. And then when they deal with that, they got to deal with the ink moth now that you have like a scale up and a might in your hand as the last 2 cards.
Yeah, a lot of people in chat were like talking about whether or not you could win with combat damage, non-infect combat damage. And in Modern, that actually happens, I think, more frequently than you would think.
Oh my god, dude. There's so many games where I'm like, okay, I don't have an Infector, but I have like 3 nobles in play. I got all these pump spells. Let's just start swinging and see what happens. And then obviously you get the life total down enough where they're getting nervous and they're like having to kind of react to your nobles. And they'll like start trying to pick those off. But guess what? Once those are gone, you start ripping your actual Infectors. Like, you have time to keep drawing cards if they're like going after those to stay alive.
Yeah, turn your nobles sideways, even if you're only getting them by 1. Like, it's worth it.
Put it down 1 point of damage because that 1 could matter.
Isn't that why they used to run Dryad Arbor in Infect? Was so they could get that combat damage?
The main reason for that Dryad Arbor was to protect against Liliana.
Liliana's minus, yeah.
Yes, that was the main reason. But yes, it was also in there to like fetch up a threat when you don't have. Like,
your finals matchup. I remember you during your stream were talking about your opponent a little bit. Like, was there a time when you knew, during the match, was there a time when you just knew you won?
Oh, like when I was playing against the Hammer Time guy?
Yep. Yeah, I've been the finals.
Yeah, I mean, I beat him game 1, and it was like, there was that moment in game 1 where he's attacking with I was looking at my hand with the 1 noble ability and the Blighted Agent with double Glistener Elves.
Mm-hmm.
And I was on the play, and I had the option to either play the noble or the Glistener Elf. And I opted on the play to actually just play, knowing that I'm playing against Hammer Time, to play that noble. And then my opponent obviously proceeds to like do some stuff. He plays, what did he exactly do? He played double Memnite, I think, on turn 1.
Yep.
And he also played on my turn 2. I have this. I didn't draw a second land, so I have this option to either play Blighted Agent or cast double Elf. But then I looked at my hand and I saw that I didn't really have like a lot of good pump spells in my hand. I had to Become Immense that required me to have a full graveyard and mana a little bit. I had 2 Vines of Vastwoods, maybe, or something like that, and that's like double green to kick it once. And with missing land drops, it's kind of tough. And like maybe I had a Blossoming Defense. Who knew? I had a Blighted Agent. But anyway, so I opted to play 2 Glistener Elves to play the long game instead of just jamming the Agent. kind of do some stuff where like I kind of get him to fill my graveyard a little bit and buy me some time to like find a land. Because if I find a land, I'm able to continue to like put my Blighted Agent out, hold up the protection spell, which he's playing Hammer. It's not like he has interaction for me, but it just feels safe to get to that point where you slam it, you're holding the protection, you feel like you're like holding a counter spell up for 1 mana. It's literally what it feels like. It's amazing. We got rewarded when I ended up doing. He like I attacked for one of my Glistener elves. He double blocked with a Meta Knight, which I don't think was very right. He's going to try to take me down on cards, and I'm going to try to use my Become Immense.
Mm-hmm.
So he's thinking he's doing something right, but realistically, I'm just making plan to my plan.
You've fallen into my trap card, sir. Yeah, he set up to, in my notes, he's set up to win with a hammer and a shadow spear, and then that's when you vines.
You like how I let him equip the hammer first, and then so basically you let him think that he's good to go with what he's doing.
Yeah,
you let him feel good about it, and then towards the end you're like, no trample. That's what you were going for the whole time.
Yeah,
like to put me on that 2-turn clock, and I was like, no, like
I feel like you were in a fine position with just the one hammer coming at you. You had at that point you had like your field was full of dorks.
Yeah, I did the math, and I was like, so I'm not dead to this one hammer, and that's fine. I'll let it connect, like whatever. As long as I'm above 2 lives, that I could crack a fetch if I drew one. That's all that mattered. So it ended up working out for me because 1 life to pay for the fetches would have been lethal anyways. And
have you gone back and watched the VOD at all?
3 times.
Oh, word. Yeah. So you untap, you set aside your graveyard, you tap 1 mana, you cast Become Immense, and the commentators were chatting about like whatever, and then you guys just start shuffling up, getting ready to sideboard, and they're like, "What? Like the game ended?" yes, it did.
Segal had Become Immense. Yeah, he ripped it off the top, but no, he had it all the time.
Yeah, it was gangster, dude.
That's amazing, dude. The one of Become Immense is so spicy because no one plays it anymore in any decks. So I'm sure people had to like bring that card up.
It's classic. It's been in Infect forever.
Also, my opponent can't Inquisition of Kozilek it, so that's good.
Yeah, tech.
Hey, it's not that it's tech. It's more like they play an Inquisition, they see it, and they're like, "Oh, we're just fueling it."
I didn't know this, but on game 2, your opponent sides in black for like Thoughtseize effects.
Yeah.
And he ended up keeping that. He Thoughtseizes on the play, and then turn 2, he Prismatic Ends, I think, a Blighted Agent.
I had the protection spell for that, I believe. Didn't
Yep. Yeah, you just start to develop a little bit, and you quickly outpace him. He's down to like 1 card in hand, and it is absolutely not an interactive spell.
I remember that. So we got to see deck lists between matches,
and
his 75 was very proactive. He had some Thoughtseizes on the board and a Thoughtseize in the main, and like 3 on the board. And that was all that he had for realistically reactivity against me.
Yeah.
And with him having like removal spells, it gets kind of tough when I'm playing the card Blighted Agent in my deck.
That's true. And his Prismatic Ending is going to eat up a lot of his resources. They're so lean and hungry. They hardly ever have like more than 2 or 3 mana too. You kind of time walk them out of their turn.
Exactly. Like you need to be proactive, but like you're forcing them to play reactive stuff that's not even good. Because we can set up with protection if we feel like they're going to have that,
Yeah. Later on, after this, we'll do another video where we can go through like common matchups, common scenarios, how to play the deck and everything. And I look forward to that shit, man. That's going to be great.
Oh, yeah, of course. I'll give as much knowledge as I can give.
Yeah. Maybe I can actually play Infect in Modern again. I have not been able to win a game in a while.
Dude, I think you should. I think if you just played it at a random event and tried it out, you probably would get a kick out of it.
Hey, I've heard it's pretty good. Let me see. So I don't really have too much else to go over. We covered the entire tournament, your past wins and stuff. Do you have anything coming up down the road? Are you going to any tournaments or anything?
I was invited with my buddy Sean Gallagher to go travel to like some NRG series events, and I'll probably go travel to a couple of those with him and some other buddies. I had a point to throw myself into something, and here it is.
Yeah. Actually, low key, Midwest is putting up, Minnesota specifically is putting up some huge results. I don't know if you know John McCarroll, Keeper X.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, he top 16 Eternal Weekend with his own homebrew.
That's amazing.
Legacy Cocoa.
That's super cool. Wow.
Yep.
I also know that like Michael Bierman has done some stuff in like vintage or like Eternal Weekend.
Yeah, that's right. He won 2020's Library of Alexandria Eternal Weekend.
I have a whole Modern Horizons 2 uncut sheet over here.
Nice.
Not Modern Horizons 2, Modern Horizons 1, sorry.
Nice.
I won that in 2019. I got like second place at like the Mythic Invitational Qualifier, or the what's the RPTQ that was on Fridays at Magic Fest for a while.
Oh, I don't remember. Oh.
Or the Mythic Championship or whatever. And I got second place at that side event. It's like a big trophy. Also, do you guys want to see my like the trophy that I got?
Yes, I do. Please.
Let me go grab that. So first I wanted to point out that like, hold on one second. Let me go grab the trophy. So it starts with a few years ago, like 5 years ago, I played Infect at a regional, right? In Minneapolis, and there was about 300 players. And I won this little tiny trophy then. It's like a little quarterfinalist trophy.
Yeah, that's a nice one.
So it's just like a little tiny quarterfinalist guy.
Oh, yeah, a little SCG one.
Yeah, so that's a little SCG one. But then this is the big one. Hold on. I'm going to pull it out. This one is a big boy.
Nice. That's from this weekend?
Yeah, that's from this weekend. And like, they're both just. You know,
that's so gangster, man.
You see that?
Yeah.
Maybe
I like how they put winner in giant font on the bottom. That's what's up.
Right? Isn't that super cool?
Yeah. Oh, man. You got to be proud of that.
No, I am. I've definitely won some cool looking stuff, like just from playing Magic.
Speaking of socials, if somebody wanted to reach out to you and get advice or coaching sessions or whatever, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
So I would just say, add me on Snapchat. I'll probably add you back and, explain to who you are, and at jflame or j-flame123.
Okay.
That is my Snapchat that you can get a hold of me at. And then also look up Jacob Segal on Facebook and you'll probably find me. But again, I want to get my game store eventually, Spark Up Games.
Cool. So Snapchat, Facebook, I'll try and get those put in on the screen, and I'll link them down below and everything. What's that?
I also have my Twitch channel.
Yeah. What's your Twitch?
So I'm jblaze123.
Okay.
I stream playing Infect usually, or I play a little bit of Arena.
Sweet. I'll try and get those edited up on the screen here, and I'll link them below. But yeah, thank you for sitting down for your interview. We'll do a in-depth Infect playthrough guide list or whatever, a deck tech. We'll do that. Is there any closing thoughts for this interview that you have?
No, I just thank you so much, Rick. I really appreciate you putting me on this, on your what is it called? What's the word? Your VOD here.
My channel.
Your channel. I appreciate it. That's super awesome. Like, one step at a time. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, man. For sure. Anytime. Well, I'm going to close it out. I don't know what our runtime is. It's pretty long, but yeah, we'll put up the deck tech later. And yeah, we're going to sign off. I've been Rick with the Legacy Brew Pub.
And I'm Jacob Segal with Spark Up Games.
Yeah, find us down below. Peace out, bitches.
Have a wonderful day.